Hello there folks, these are the hands of me, Dan Brown, from a sort of interestinglife.com, and today we're talking about notebooks, and in particular proper pocket notebooks to really stick in your pocket and get out there adventuring with. So on that note, I'll say first of all, when I'm saying this is about pocket notebooks, I'm talking proper small notebooks like this size. So we're going to cast aside all of our notebooks that are bigger than that. These are more of your sort of traditional desk books. And you see you've got rather nice Evernote Moleskine notebook. I do like that cover design where it's got the sort of embossed in general images and the Evernote elephant in the middle. I'm not sure if you can catch that in the light. But I really do love these notebooks and use them an awful lot, as some of you will know if you see my other videos. But today we're casting these aside, as so, and also things like, this is one of the Field Notes steno pads. Anything big like that is obviously not going to be nice and simple to slip into your pocket. I do often find myself biking back into the little boat that I live on with one of those sort of size notebooks in, with various notes for my videos and general writing that I'm up to. But today we're all about the proper pocket notebooks. So, a few things to think about. Now, this is intended to be more of your actual, writing a diary, travelogue, that sort of general thing that we're thinking about here. So you've got people who will want notebooks for just generally taking lists down and generally writing things down to remember throughout the day. And for things like that, I think you can't beat nice, simple cardboard cover notebooks. They're obviously nice and thin, slip straight into your pocket. We've got a few more. These ones with the coloured covers are from Scout Books. Definitely check them out. I absolutely love a lot of the cover design that the Scout Books have. But Field Notes, when it comes to that sort of area, are the iconic, true, super famous ones, as I'm sure you're familiar. If you're watching the notebook video, then you'll almost certainly know of Field Notes. And when it comes for just general note-taking and things like that, something like this is absolutely spot on, and you're not really going to be able to beat just a simple cardboard cover notebook. But what I'm thinking more of are long-term usage, as in keeping a long-term diary, or if you're out keeping a little log of your travels, if you're on holiday, something like that, where you're going to be doing a lot of writing and more substantial pieces of writing, then you might want something a little bit different. And obviously as well, the more that you're keeping a book on you and in your pocket as you go about your daily adventures, the more it's going to be exposed to potential damage and water damage, things like that. So, if we first of all have a look at some of the more classic, iconic books, we've got a couple of these are, once again, Leuchtturm 1917 notebooks, and this is the standard sort of pocket size. This is a Moleskine notebook, and you can see Leuchtturm ones are just very slightly taller there, but you get the general gist. They're very small and will hopefully nicely fit into your pocket. But what I would say personally, as much as I love hardback notebooks, and when I'm writing in these desk-size ones, I always have a hardback. What I find, and what I've found over time, is that having a hardback pocketbook that's actually in your pocket, when you're bending over and crouching down, just generally moving around throughout the day, especially if you're picking things up, you'll find that the hardback is a lot less sort of, it makes itself known, I would say. It's not as subtle as having one of these soft cover ones. And of course, you don't want corners poking in you, because I'm generally very active and out biking or walking or goodness knows what, climbing up trees, just general stupid stuff, basically. Obviously, having something that's not going to stick into me is definitely something that I consider a bonus, which is why I absolutely love, and this is one of my most loved notebooks, one of my first ever proper Moleskines, and I did an awful lot of general writing and note-taking in this. And with it being the soft cover, you can see that it's nice and simple. It's not got any hard edges that are going to poke into you, but it's still got a good sort of water-resistant cover that should hopefully keep the worst of any damage away from the pages, should you find yourself getting, unfortunately, damp. So, that's definitely my first little bit of advice and thing to think about. Similarly, I know this isn't a pocket-sized notebook, that this is a bit bigger. You'll find that some books, such as this Walker's Notebook, which, once again, this is quite a nice one. I'm obsessed, and it's something that me and my friends have talked about at great length. I absolutely love Wainwright's line drawings that he used to do. Absolutely incredible. But this is just a nice simple notebook idea where you can literally just log your walks, and it's got like distances and where did you start from and all that sort of thing. So that's a nice little thing that I've enjoyed filling in over time. But the thing that this, obviously, as it's intended as a walker's notebook, the thing that I wanted to just generally point out about this is the fact that it's got this waterproof cover on it. So obviously, again, even though the paper itself is just normal paper, having a waterproof cover does help keep the worst of any potential water damage away, especially if you've got that in your bag or something and it's water that's splashing directly on, it's obviously going to roll off rather than seep through. But if you don't come across anything like that, or if you are a big fan of things like this, like the Scout books that I certainly am, or want notebooks that you can basically not have too much stuff in, so you want these nice simple thin notebooks that you can repeatedly change and maybe use one per month, one per week, then something else may come into its own in that case, which we shall get to in just a second. But first, I think we'll just talk about the Field Notes Expedition Edition first, and this I absolutely love. I've done a stress test video on this in the past, but basically this is Yupo synthetic paper, and it's basically waterproof and tearproof. And I've tested out the waterproofness of it an awful lot, and this has all been dunked in water repeatedly, and you can probably tell, like, fountain pen ink isn't going to absorb into waterproof paper, so that's something to be wary of, and we'll think about that in just a second. But when it comes to tearproof paper, you might be able to tell how much this has already been attempted to be torn, but if I say that with all of my might, I cannot do anything other than slightly stretch the paper. And of course, it's unlikely that you're going to have a notebook that comes under this sort of stress under natural usage. But you can see again, there's absolutely no tear there whatsoever. And I just think it's absolutely, they are just fantastic. If you want a durable notebook, then look no further. Field Notes Expedition Edition, I absolutely love them. And it's bright orange too, so that's always good. But if you're not fancying something like that, then what I use, and this I use as my wallet, I have this on me all of the time, either in my pocket or in my backpack, and I do bike and walk a good amount of miles, probably a couple of 100 miles a week, just in general life. This is a Midori Traveller's Notebook. It has this elastic loop around to keep it all nice and together when it's in your pocket, in your bag or wherever. I added in this wallet insert so I can keep my cards in there and a bit of money, and it's got the same zip-up pocket on the back there. But what I use this for is, first of all, my general diary and day-to-day sort of journal and dear diary sort of thing. But I did have one refill in, but now I use this as just a simple notebook for general notes and shopping lists, things like that. I've gone back to using that as my second notebook in there. And just having a notebook on me all the time is extremely handy, and being able to have my diary with me as well all the time. And because these are only nice thin notebooks, that means I don't have to risk having like an entire year's worth of writing in there, because every month at the absolute most I end up changing that to another one of these Scout book refills. So that I really enjoy having, to be able to just at any random moment start noting random little bits and pieces down. And as you can see, I do an awful lot of writing, and this, I'm not sure if this is the 5th or the 6th notebook that I've got in there now. Even been attempting a little bit of watercolour painting, but more on that in the future, I'm sure. I hope that the cat is not interfering with the video, as she has just popped herself up. Hello, say hello to the internet. Anyway, moving swiftly on. So that is something that might be worth looking in. One of these leather notebook cover style things. Not necessarily a Midori one, because they are quite expensive, but it's definitely something that I've had on me now for the best part of a year and been using it as a wallet. Kept it on me almost all of the time, and it's something that I absolutely love and am continuing to use with no intention of stopping anytime soon. But similar to that is the Flex by Filofax system. And this is basically a similar idea where you have various styles of leather cover, such as this one, but these have got all these pockets and little bits and pieces that you can then fill in with a different range of notebooks that that Filofax create for their Flex system. So again, this is a nice simple thing where you can mix and match. You can just use it as a wallet with one notebook in it. You can use it as a wallet with no notebooks in it. There's the flip-up notebooks, thin notebooks. So you can see this one here is a diary. So there's plenty of options for this. And obviously the idea of it being called the Flex is for flexibility. If I put that one in there, you can generally start to get the general gist. It's a similar idea as you've got a nice, hopefully, waterproof, or not necessarily waterproof, but a little bit of water resistance given to the outside of the books. They're protected from any exterior batters to a certain extent, and bumps and any potential tears and that sort of thing. But obviously the Flex by Filofax, you can see these are very thick notebooks in there. So if that's your sort of thing, then it might be worth looking into. I'm definitely much more of a fan of thinner notebooks that you can use more of and not have all your eggs in one basket, as it were. But that's just a general quick look and thought about travellers' notebooks if you're going travelling, if you're on holiday, if you just want something that's going to be with you when you're doing anything other than, I don't know, walking around the workplace or sitting in an office, that sort of thing. Now, when it comes to pens, I would say it's a good idea to have a pencil, but you've got the risk, if you're doing a lot of motion and movement, of the pencil stabbing into you. So I don't tend to have them on me. Normally, if I do carry pencils, which is very often, I have those in my backpack or somewhere away from where there's going to be a lot of movement. So I'd say a pencil, it's nice to have. You can find the smaller ones that you can sort of keep tucked up into these, or even cut down a full-size pencil. But what I personally prefer, I love to write with fountain pens, but they're not necessarily the best for writing on the go, which I have to admit that, and I can't possibly say otherwise. I've got me Lamy Vista here, basically the Safari in clear. This is a Parker IM. I do love both of them, but I love the Vista a lot more. This one I was having problems getting it to start writing, but then somebody raised the alarm to me that the reason it was taking a while for the ink to start flowing through was because I was using Parker Quink. When I filled it up with Lamy ink, it has started working absolutely perfect again, so no complaints there. Just want to clear the IM's name from any grief I may have given it previously. But what I tend to have is this. This is a Cross Classic Century pen here, and this is a simple ballpoint pen. And obviously that's a lot more water resistant. It dries as you're writing, where sometimes you'll find that ink out of a fountain pen won't. So if you're here in a very limited space, you'll start smudging it, that sort of thing. And if you're in a rush, particularly when you're trying to write with a fountain pen, especially if there's a little bit of drizzle or rain in the air, then you can have some issues. Whereas obviously a pencil or a simple biro is as plain and simple a writing tool as it comes. So I definitely would say for travelling, a biro, and particularly I find that the ink in biros tends to last a very long time. And of course, it's not as if by having a biro you're starting to take back any of the options for colours or things like that you might want to write with. As you can see, you've got plenty here. Just a side note to go beyond pen and paper. I have been, as you've just seen, a very quick glimpse of trying to get into a little bit of painting and watercolour, that sort of thing. Now, what I bought myself was this rather nice little Cotman pocket paint set. And I really am enjoying trying to use watercolours. It's been a long time since I've used anything like this. But that obviously to me appeals because it was a nice, tiny, easily pocketable paint set. The potential issue of carrying water in a little jar or in a bottle, or just to add in that little bit more bulk, having to fetch a water source with you, I discovered these. This is... I'm not sure exactly what make this one is off the top of my head. But what I do like is this nice simple idea. You fill that part up with water. It's got a nice tight lid on it as well. But basically you can squeeze to drip water out if you need more water. But this is a very, very fine point brush on the end there. And I don't know if you can even see, you probably can't, but even just now the water is coming out with the brush that's naturally, I don't know if it's capillary action, whatever the technical term is, but it's something that I really do enjoy, and it's just something really nice, and I've been just using this to add a little hint of colour to me little sketches that I try and draw. So yeah, those are some things to think about. I hope that I've thrown up a few names and brands for you to have a look into. Scout Books, Field Notes obviously, Leuchtturm 1917, Moleskine as always, Flex, which is the sort of lesser known Filofax baby, obviously Midori and similar things to Midori notebooks. There's a huge range. I mean, if I just reach up for 1 second, apologies for the break in the video, if I reach up here, there's all sorts of variants of the pocket notebook things. So you've got, in terms of cardboard cover, things like other Moleskine ones. These are the Kaye notebooks, which are once again just cardboard cover with a little pocket on the inside there. And similarly, I've got these Weird notebooks, which are again the same sort of size as the Moleskine Kayes, and I believe the Field Notes. Yeah, so there's plenty of options out there, plenty of different things that you can check out. So I'll say on that note, thanks for watching. Check out my other videos for tons more writing, pens, pencils, loads of notebooks, organisers and Filofax videos. I mean, an absolutely huge amount. As you can probably gather, this isn't even a fraction of what I have got on my shelf just out of shot here. But I'll say thanks for watching. Check out those videos. Subscribe for more to come. Feel free to check out my other videos about my life living on a little boat on the inland waterways of the UK. And of course, feel free to like the Facebook page, add me personally on Facebook and Twitter, and if you really want, please check out my books about Narrowboat life. In particular, you may enjoy the latest one, A Narrowboat and a Notebook, which contains all sorts of little diary entries and things. Well, as the title suggests, A Narrowboat and a Notebook. There's a lot that I've drawn from things like this and my general diaries. So if notebooks are your thing, and Narrowboat sounds interesting, then that may be worth checking out. Till the next time, keep it paper worthy, have a fantastic day, and I hope to see you around soon. Farewell.